Okay, to repeat for those that couldn't hear it, it was a Pentecost-specific question. What does speaking in tongues mean for us today? So clearly, there are congregations and churches that have particular practices around Pentecostalism, right? And I know that there are some in our midst that come from those walks of faith. The beauty of the congregational church is that there are so many different streams that come together, and so I know that there may be some that is part of their tradition and heritage. And it has not been a particular part of our worshiping tradition to speak in tongues in gathered community. Right? That has not been how the Holy Spirit has been at work here. But I would name, as I'm looking at this text, and it started off with these disciples, and it's after the resurrection, right? These disciples who were so terrified that in almost every time you meet them, they're in a small room together with all the doors locked. Like, that is where they're at. Because they were scared. Because they were scared looking at this wider community, at their leader that had been killed. And even with the resurrection, there was still all of these questions and saying, now what? What does this mean in kind of these enclosed spaces? And something shifted. That the Spirit of God came into that place and moved them in such a way that they could not stay there anymore. That they felt compelled and empowered and sent out of that room and into the wider community. And as they were there, they were suddenly able to communicate across lines of difference that had seemed insurmountable before. They were able to communicate across lines of nationality, across lines of understanding. And instead of having everyone able to understand, okay, now we are all converted to your speech. Instead, they learned to speak the language of others. And so, as we are thinking about how we are called as the church, there is a great comfort in talking to those who agree with you. There is a lot of safety in having conversations where you know both sides of the patter back and forth. And if we were to say, may the Holy Spirit come and descend upon us and send us out into the world, what would it mean to truly be able to speak and hear and listen across lines of difference? What would it mean to say that we are not able to remain in our safe spaces, but instead are compelled to engage in difficult and complicated and beautiful and emerging conversations? What would it mean that we found by the grace of God that communication was possible where we didn't thought it was before? And so it is a bit of a metaphorical take, but I think that it would be enough of a miracle if we could talk across lines of difference.